I was watching a video of Gil's Arena, and of course, we've all heard about, been known about the news of Sheryl Swoope versus Caitlin Clark, things like that. Her refusing to give Caitlin Clark her flowers for the rookie year that she's had, and things of that nature. You even had Sheryl Swoope and Stephen A. Smith going back and forth, and be quiet. And just a lot, to me, in my opinion. Sheryl Swoope, who is one of the greatest WNBA players of all time, top 5, top 10, whatever you want to call it, but she has left her mark on that in that league. And Stephen A. talked about how it affects her credibility when she didn't acknowledge Caitlin Clark when talking about how good the Indiana Fever were post All-Star break, after the All-Star break. And she talked about Kelsey Mitchell, she talked about Aaliyah Boston and all these other players, but she refused to acknowledge the name of Caitlin Clark. And she even said to Stephen A. Smith, "Oh, well, did you watch the whole podcast?" And he said, "I did watch the whole podcast, and so did I." And when you listen to it, she never mentioned Caitlin Clark when she was talking about Indiana Fever. It's just a prime example of how far and deep hate can go, and for no apparent reason. Like, why do she dislike Caitlin Clark this much? Why does she hate Caitlin Clark, or just refuse to give Caitlin Clark her flowers? On Gil's Arena, they were talking about dominant players. And what is a dominant player? Has Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being dominant? And the answer is no. But when you I'm not going to show those parts. I'm only going to show the thing that really caught my eye on how far and low Sheryl Swoope is really willing to go to discredit Caitlin Clark. Because when you look at what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese has done, they have been dominant WNBA players. They've been dominant. She refuses to acknowledge how dominant Caitlin Clark has been, to the point to where she discredited her own career just to put down Caitlin Clark, just to not acknowledge what Caitlin Clark has done. Because when you look at what Sheryl Swoope has accomplished, and I'll read off some of her WNBA accomplishments. She's a 4-time WNBA champion, a 4-peat. She's a 3-time league MVP, 6-time All-Star, All-Star Game MVP in 2005, 5-time All-WNBA first team, 2-time WNBA second team, 3-time defensive player of the year, 2-time All-Defensive first team, 2-time scoring champion, 2-time steals leader, peak performer in 2005. She is an accomplished basketball player. Sheryl Swoope was dominant. But according to Sheryl Swoope, she wasn't dominant. And I'm going to let y'all hear. On the show, someone asked her this question right here.
The 3 WNBA MVPs in your career, would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
She said that she wouldn't even consider her 3 MVP seasons as dominant. Sheryl Swoope, in her 3 MVP seasons, averaged, let's go to it. She won MVP in 2000, and she averaged 20 points, let's call it 21, 20.7. She averaged 3 steals, 4 assists, 6 rebounds. She shot 82% from the free throw line, 37% from 3, and 50% from the field in 31 games as they won the WNBA championship. But she said that she doesn't consider that dominant. She didn't dominate during those 3 MVPs, and we just read off her first MVP. Her second MVP in 2002, they didn't win the championship that year, but she averaged 43% from the field, 28% from 3, 82% free throw, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 18.5 points per game. What is your definition of dominant if that's not dominant? You yourself is willing to go so low to say that Caitlin Clark isn't dominant that you're willing to say that you also wasn't dominant. What is dominant if Sheryl Swoope's in 2005 MVP season, 44% from the field, 36% from three, 85% from the free throw line, 3.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 18.6 points per game. If that's not dominant, then there is no such thing as a dominant WNBA player. No NBA player has ever dominated the league if what Sheryl Swoope has done in her career is not dominant. But she is willing to go that far just to diminish Caitlin Clark, which is completely absurd.
Your perspective in life.
No.
So you were the best player in the W, but you don't think...
But I don't think I dominated.
Who dominated?
I thought, I don't know.
And she can't even tell you who dominated. 3 MVP seasons, a historian of the games, but this woman won't even acknowledge the fact that she was a dominant basketball player. And she went as far as to say she doesn't know when was asked, well, who was dominant. A historian of the game don't even know. She can't even tell you who was dominant. She can't even tell you who was dominant. That's how much this disdain she has for Caitlin Clark. And this right here is why she has no credibility. Whether she care about my opinion, your opinion, anybody's opinion, still doesn't change the fact that you have no credibility. All of your credibility is shot because you are that prideful and that stubborn.
No, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if I dominated. I played very well. And I played very well on both sides of the ball. But I scored, I rebounded, I defended.
That's dominating. If you play well on all those sides of the ball, and it was in 2000, she won MVP in 2000, 2002, and 2005. In 2000, in her first MVP, let me go to it real quick before I say it. In her 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 2 of those came the same season she also won league MVP. In 2000 and in 2005, and she also won. In 2000 and 2002, and she also won MVP in 2000, Defensive Player of the Year in 2003. So she is a 3-time MVP and a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, winning Defensive Player and MVP award twice in the same season. And she can acknowledge that she played well on both sides of the ball. She scored, she rebounded, she defended, but she will not consider that as dominant. Just because she doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that Caitlin Clark has been dominant in her rookie year.
Tier levels to dominance, though. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Okay.
That her tier level is here at the bottom.
Exactly what Rashad McKent just said. There are tier levels to dominant. What she has done as a rookie to be a rookie is dominant. What Asia Wilson has done as a 6-7 year vet, it's another level. Yes, there are tiers to it. Caitlin Clark has not been better her rookie year than what Asia Wilson has done in her 6 or 7 years. There's tiers to this. If Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark put up their same or similar numbers, Caitlin Clark would have been in the MVP conversation. She would have been 1 and 2 with Asia Wilson, or vice versa. Caitlin Clark number 1 and Asia Wilson number 2. There's tiers to this.
I don't know. I don't know if, yes, I think they both maybe exceeded expectations, but I don't think they dominated, right?
If this is the case, you now have to explain your definition of dominant. Because to exceed expectations as a rookie is dominant. They dominated for rookies. Caitlin Clark dominated.
Because I think you can be the best player and not be the most dominant.
Yeah. Which is
as crazy as it may sound. I
think their definition of dominant is so misconstrued. It seems like they're putting it in and it's really like almost sad because it's coming from former professional players, that they're saying that you have to average 30 to be considered dominant. You didn't have a dominant season if you didn't average 30.
But remember
but
the
you're
conversation.
saying you disagree. And the reason why I say that is because I don't have it in front of me, but like I wasn't the leading scorer.
How can you not know Sheryl Swoope? Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't know. She just said she wasn't the leading scorer. I'm looking at it right here. 3 MVPs. 2000, 2002, and 2005 for Miss Sheryl Swoope. In 2000 and 2005, in 2 of those MVP years, it says right here that Sheryl Swoope was the WNBA scoring champion. It says it right here. In the year 2000, she was the league MVP and she was the scoring champion. In 2005, she was the league MVP and she was the scoring champion. But she just said she didn't lead the league in scoring. She wasn't the leading scorer. Is she really willing to diminish her own dominant accomplishments just because of her dislike, disdain, hatred, or whatever you want to call it for Caitlin Clark? All in all, this right here just diminished all of her credibility. All of it. And for former NBA players, her and Gilbert Arenas, they're showing that they don't know what they're talking about. And that's sad because they both played at a high level in the league. But they have no clue on what they're talking about when it comes to this. And to, like I said, you have to go see, I wanted to talk about this part of Sheryl Swoope diminishing her own accomplishments and stats and things like that, just so she didn't have to acknowledge that Caitlin Clark was a dominant player. But you have to go watch this entire episode, which is about 45, 47 minutes, just to see how ridiculous they sound when talking about the definition of a dominant player. And I'm so glad that Rashawn McKent was there to have that other perspective of common sense, because Gil and Sheryl made no sense to me. But all in all, I wanted to talk about that. Appreciate you guys taking this time to hear me out. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we will talk soon. Peace.